Light. What images come to your mind? Light. What words do you think of when you hear the word light? What do you see? Hello, I'm Patricia Ercolino, and I am the producer of Sojourners Along the Way. Welcome to this edition, and our topic, our focus, is going to be light. We're going to look at it from different cultural, religious aspects. But first, I want to ask you a question. What is the greatest source of light for the earth? Did you say the sun? You would be correct. Did you know that if the earth was just 5 degrees closer to the sun, what would happen? Did you know that if we were just 5 degrees, and that's very small, but if we were 5 degrees closer to the sun, everything would burn up? And, on the other hand, if we were 5 degrees further away from the sun, what do you think would happen? 5 degrees closer, we burn. 5 degrees further away, we freeze. We had to be exactly where we are. That is by design. That the earth sits in our universe exactly where it is. We need light for substance. Now, there are things that are done in darkness that don't need light, but to maintain light for sustenance, we need photosynthesis for our plants to be able to grow. They need a source of light, and the sun is the tremendous source that our earth depends upon. I want to discuss with you just a little tidbit about the things you're going to view. I said that there will be different perspectives, and those perspectives are the Indian Diwali Festival of Lights, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and also the light of the world from the Christian perspective is Jesus. And I thought it was interesting that the Post has this as their headline: Hanukkah falls on finals week. Hanukkah is the festival of lights for the Jews. And it is also the state of Israel is the home place for 3 major religions in the world. Notice that light, a candle, is being used as an illustration for Advent. And then there are the images for Diwali. I would like to take this opportunity to encourage you to watch the Star of Bethlehem. This is from a very scientific approach. The Star of Bethlehem, it's very fascinating that with our modern computers, we can reproduce exactly how the sky would have appeared at any given time in our past. So if you have a date, there's a mathematical formula. And if you watch the Star of Bethlehem, they'll tell you how these things came into being and some of the, I'll call it the touch and go of figuring this all out, the math. So it's a combination of mathematical formulas and also science to be able to reproduce what this sky looked like. There is a particular star that is called the King Star, the Star of Bethlehem. And to see that, I want to encourage you to watch the Star of Bethlehem. And that website is bethlehemstar.com. I thought it was interesting that there is a scientific approach that can be used to discuss this topic. I hope you will enjoy this edition of Sojourners Along the Way, Festival of Lights.
नमस्कार आपका इस कार्यक्रम दिवाली में स्वागत है. My name is Akanksha and I'm a graduate student at the Electrical Engineering Department.
We all welcome you to our event Diwali. My name is Swati Raghu and I'm also a graduate student in Electrical Engineering. And we are from India, Bangalore. And Diwali is the festival of lights. Diwali is celebrated because it's the victory of good over evil. There are many stories why Diwali is celebrated. Akanksha will let you know a few now.
One of the most popular stories why Diwali is celebrated is the return of Lord Ram to Ayodhya after 14 years of exile. So as a mark of respect, people light diyas, and that's why the name Diwali comes for this festival. We've put in a lot of effort to make this festival very good, like the way we celebrate it back in India. We've got a mini India in Athens.
Diwali is a very huge festival in India. India is a huge country, and there are many regional festivals celebrated in India. So Diwali is celebrated in each state differently. And I'm going to tell you how Diwali is celebrated back at my place. So at my place, Diwali is celebrated for 3 days. And all the 3 days we get delicious Indian food which my mom prepares, and we light diyas as soon as it's in the evening. We decorate with paper lanterns. We traditionally light diyas, which is a mud pot, and we have oil and
Cotton wick.
and cotton wicks, which we light up and decorate the whole place. And at the end, we burst firecrackers, where there's so many kinds of them, and enjoy the festival. We in OU, the Indian Student Association, me being the president and Akanksha being the vice president, and Jeevan being the treasurer, we bring Diwali to Athens and make our Indian friends and students feel like they're at home.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the traditional dresses that we wear for Diwali or any function for that matter back in India. So to start with, this is a bindi, and this basically this is basically worn as our ancestors say that if you press at this spot where we put the bindi, it helps to increase your memory, and that's one of the reasons why usually women in India wear it. Also, as when you get married, it's a bigger bindi, which is usually red in color, to just signify that it's a married woman. Another thing, these are called jhumkas, and these are again traditionally made from a place, Gujarat in India. So we have a lot of traditional stuff which we wear during the festival. Another traditional attire that we wear during the festivals in India is this, and it's called a gajra, which basically means jasmine flowers. What I'm wearing right now, they're artificial because I couldn't get the real ones in Athens, but back in India we wear fresh flowers which are made like a garland and wrapped around your hair. Okay, so this is one of the traditional dresses worn in India. It's called a half sari. So basically this is called a lehenga. It's just a plain long skirt, and this is called a dupatta. It's like a scarf, and we wrap it around this way, and it's called a half sari. The difference between a half sari and a full sari basically is that for a full sari you will have pleats up here, and you don't have a skirt like this. You have to drape it and then form pleats, and then you have this, which is called a pallu. But for a half sari, it's way more easier. You just have one skirt and you just drape the dupatta like a pallu.
This is another traditional dress worn in India. India was influenced by the Mughals, and this is called an anarkali, where the Mughal Empire's queen and the princesses used to wear, the royal family used to wear this kind of anarkali dresses. The special part about the dress is the flares at the bottom. They're very beautiful and pretty.
Why we celebrate this tremendous festival of lights? First and the foremost reason why we celebrate this festival is the return of our Hindu Lord Ram along with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshmana. Lord Ram returned his hometown after 13 years after killing the women Ravan who abducted his wife and wanted to marry her. But this couldn't happen because Lord Ram killed him and returned to his hometown. People of Ayodhya became very happy on the return of their beloved prince, and they decorated the entire city with lights and welcomed the prince. Thank you. The reason why we worship her every year on this day, one, it's her birthday. So we worship her every year on this day because of her birthday? No. We worship her because she is the goddess of wealth. And to get sufficient wealth, we worship her every year on this day. Thank you.
सपनों की लहरी में दिल की बात ये शहनाई 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 ख्वाबों के बीच कटी जमीन में हमको बोना है आशा की मोती सांसों की माला हमें भिगोना है अपना बोझ मिल के साथ ही हमको ढोना है शहनाई शहनाई शहनाई
साज सजिलो शुभगणी चेलावी आजा आजा टमटमाता श्रवणाओ चेलावी
चाहे ज़माना या
power and conquered both heaven and earth. So Lord Vishnu had to come to earth to kill him. It is believed that Lord Vishnu killed him just a day before Diwali. Narkasur had captivated many women, and Lord Vishnu released all the women who were captivated in his palace. People from heaven and earth became very happy and started celebrating this day as Diwali. Thank
I'm Nia, and we're showing you today how to celebrate Kwanzaa. In this segment, we will show how to properly light the 7 candles. The first candle, or mishuma, is the black candle. The black candle is placed in the middle of the kinara. The black candle represents unity, the first principle in the Nguzo Saba. The next day of Kwanzaa, December 27th, is Kujichagulia. On this day, the first red candle next to the Umoja candle should be lit. On the next day of Kwanzaa, December 28th, is Ujima. On that day, a green candle, again, that's next to the Umoja candle, should be lit. On the next day, December 29th, is Ujima. A red candle should be lit. On the following day, December 30th, Nia, a green candle should be lit. On the day following, December 31st, a red candle for Kuumba should be lit. And our final candle and day, Imani, on January 1st, should be lit. In Kwanzaa, we greet each other in Kiswahili asking Habari Gani. Habari Gani means what's the news or what's happening. Answer with the principle for that day. For example, on December 26th, respond with Umoja.
Umoja.
Also during Kwanzaa, libation is poured. Libation is poured to honor our ancestors by an elder or leader using water, juice, or spirits from the Kikombe cha Umoja into a bowl or potted plant. During the 7 days of Kwanzaa, one should only shop at black-owned businesses. In the spirit of Kwanzaa and Ujima, which is cooperative economics, we as African people should support these same black businesses all year round. Also during Kwanzaa, it is suggested that one should fast. When fasting, one should fast from sunrise to sunset to help cleanse the body, discipline the mind, and uplift the spirit. On each day of Kwanzaa, someone in the family, preferably one of the children, lights the candle for that particular day. After the candle has been lit, the family then discuss the meaning of the principle for that day. Then, the head of the household pours libation, and the family collectively drink from the kikombe cha umoja, meaning the unity cup. Then the family closes with 7 collective cheers of Harambe. Harambe means let's pull together. Harambe! After Harambe has been collectively cheered, passing of Zawadi is next. On each day during Kwanzaa in the community, programs should be held that focus on the principle for that day. The community programs should begin with libation, followed by candle lighting, the same as in the home. The programs may involve invited speakers, dancing, drumming, presentations by different groups in the community, done in a festive manner. The Karamu is the feast held at the end of Kwanzaa. The Karamu may be held on the night of December 31st or January 1st. The Karamu should be a festive occasion. When possible, observe traditional African practices. For example, playing African music, dance, storytelling, and eating with hands. The principles of Kwanzaa, the Nguzo Saba, are principles that should guide us throughout the year. If we apply the principles of unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith in our homes, community, nation, and race, we will be more equipped to achieve our goals. Asante sana, or thank you very much. We hope that you have enjoyed this presentation on Kwanzaa. Through celebrating Kwanzaa, you and yours will become closer.
I hope you've enjoyed the presentation about the Indian Light Festival called Diwali, and plan now to attend next year's festival. You can contact the Indian Student Association and you can ask them for the dates. It typically occurs in fall, so you can plan now for that. Questions. Did you know one celebration of lights is embraced by 2 groups? Do you know which celebration? Do you know which 2 groups? Hanukkah is most commonly associated with Jewish people. However, believers who know and understand the scriptures, the Old Testament, realize Hanukkah is part of every believer's roots, Christian history. Now we're going to see something about Hanukkah, which generally takes place in the month of December on the Gregorian calendar, and it lasts for 8 days. There was a miracle that occurred. The light did not go out for 8 days, even though there was no oil for beyond 1 day. These are some of my personal items that I have for a Hanukkah celebration. They all have menorahs and also the dreidel on them. Even my little buddy here has a menorah on him. The menorah is extremely important for the celebration because it represents the miracle that happened. The Shamas candle does not count as part of the candles, and there are 8 because there were 8 days that the oil continued to burn even though there was only enough for 1 day. Another part of that miracle was the winning of the battle.
Sitting in darkness. It's the festival of lights, but for so many people, their lives are in despair and they're in darkness. It's sad. And people wonder, how am I going to get out of this rut? How will I find meaning? How will I find purpose? How will I find what I'm supposed to be doing in this world? Well, Hanukkah has come. And I would suggest in a small way that just a little light, just a small light goes a long way. A small light can make all the difference. One small light can cause a giant illumination. Indeed, Hanukkah is a time when a lot of us say, what's the use? My life is what it is. But the lesson of Hanukkah is that a small band of Maccabees, 2,200 years ago, maybe 12 or 13 of them, started a revolt against the entire Greek army. The miracle was that they were victorious. They didn't know the meaning of the words give up. They didn't understand what it means to surrender. They had a purpose. And this year, when you feel like there is no hope, remember what the Maccabees did. And go to your window, take out one candle on the first night, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, each day a little bit more light. And you will be shocked at how much light that can bring into your life. You have to start somewhere. You have to do something. You can't just say, I give up. You can't say, I'm hopeless. I don't know where to turn. Hanukkah is the time and is the holiday of hope. Hope for all those who are downtrodden, all those who are depressed, in despair, not knowing where to turn to. This is the time. This is the time to light that little light. Say a little prayer and say, let it start. With God's help, let it begin. Let Him take me out of the darkness. And watch. Stand back. Examine the light. Watch it flicker. Remember the Maccabees. Remember the lesson. Remember how the Torah was restored to the Jewish people. They were victorious in battle. They reignited the temple again. It can happen for you.
Hanukkah, the festival of lights. Isn't that how you know it? That's how I know it. Hanukkah's about one thing. Candles. Light. Right? I mean, there's presents and dreidels and latkes, but what it's really about is the family gets together and lights Hanukkah candles, right? Why? Because Hanukkah is the holiday that commemorates the miracle of the oil. Remember? A long time ago, the Greeks conquered Israel and ruled over it with an iron fist, forbidding anything that resembles Judaism. As part of the Greek takeover, they ransacked our temple, destroying all the holy vessels and replacing it with their idols. A Kohen named Matisyahu had a few sons. One day, they did the unthinkable and decided to defend themselves against the Greeks. Miraculously, they defeated the strongest army in the world. In their victory, they recaptured the temple. During the rededication, they wanted to light the menorah, but they couldn't find any oil appropriate for the lighting. So they searched, and then they found one jug. They lit it, and the oil lasted for 8 days. Hence, the miracle of the oil and our focus on lighting the candles. And of course, since we are Jewish, we need to include eating oil. What would a Jewish holiday be like unless we turn triumphs into food? So we cook everything in oil for 8 days. Latkes, donuts, whatever. Deep fry it and you feel better about your Judaism. I love us. But doesn't something seem strange to you? Doesn't it feel like we're missing the real miracle? Matisyahu and a few tired, malnourished, untrained Jews beat the Greek army. What? That's like saying that you and a few of your friends took on the US military and won. If you want to talk miracles, the war was the miracle. That's what we should be remembering. Why are we focused on the candles? I got my answer one spring morning over a bowl of Cheerios in a small apartment in Long Island. I was visiting my grandparents. They're Holocaust survivors. They went through the worst. Concentration camps, Mengele, watching their parents die before their eyes, starvation, hunger, sickness, all before they were 20. And yet now, in their old age, they seem to be happy with so little. A call from the grandkids, a kiss and a hug, looking at pictures from my bar mitzvah, and they light up. One morning, I stopped by their apartment for breakfast. They were glowing about something small. I mean, I don't know, someone called, or they were looking at some pictures, and I couldn't help myself. I asked them, how could you be so upbeat? How are you not more bitter, angry, mad at the world? I'll never forget their answer. They said, you need to understand how a Jew fights. You see, a Jew never fights with a sword. He defends with the sword. But a Jew fights with light. Do you know how we fight Hitler? Not with anger. We fight him with light, by building a family, by having kids and grandkids, by helping each other, by living with joy. He tried to kill us. We fight by being more alive. A Jew doesn't fight with a sword. He fights with light. The story of Hanukkah happened thousands of years ago, but it's still going on today. Look around. Our enemies are encircling, and they don't just want our blood. They want our soul. They don't fight at our borders. They fight in our homes and synagogues. They aim for the vulnerable. They ambush us when we're praying or studying. And then they blame us. It's our fault. Stop crying, they tell us. You brought this on yourselves. And everywhere we turn, they lurk, with guns and rockets and knives, or cameras and pens and newspapers. So how do we respond? Well, we defend with any means necessary. A Jew can defend by the sword. But we don't fight with the sword. We don't fight with darkness. We fight with light. They attack our synagogues, and we'll pray even more. They target our children, and we'll build more kindergartens. They take away our freedoms, and we'll build a society that protects those freedoms. The more they target our spirit, the brighter we let our soul shine. We fight with light. We take better care of each other. We give more charity. We're more patient, kind, and giving. The symbol of Hanukkah is not the sword, because that's not the symbol of the Jew. We never want to fight. We don't aspire to be warriors. We want peace and freedom. And although Hanukkah was a miraculous military victory, the symbol is who we really are, the candle. We're the nation that brings light, that brings morality and ethics, that defends the vulnerable, that helps the poor, that heals the sick, that rebuilds from tragedy, that looks at darkness and lights a candle. This Hanukkah, as you light your candles, join the resistance. Join the cause of bringing a little bit more light into your life, to your family, your community, and the world. Fight darkness, one candle at a time. Happy Hanukkah.
Lights shining bright, burning through the night. A message to the generation, just like the stars, sparkling in the skies for you, a light into the nation.
Candlelight never seemed so bright. 8 long nights after day-long fights. Stay strong, life gets it down like the Greek when they take all rights. You can take my life, but you can't ever take my light. Cause it shines from the hope inside that we draw from the one above. I can stand cause he hold me up, check it. Underdog, it's unbelievable. World against us, it's unachievable. I'ma give my best, it's what I need to do. Rise above nature, that's what my people do. All gone and the world collapsing. Darkness surrounds, I don't know what's happening. But I know one thing tonight, things are all about the candlelight, y'all.
Lights shining bright, burning through the night. A message to the generation, just like the stars, sparkling in the skies for you, a light into the nation.
So how many G's and how many T's since the mighty Greek Empire put us to near extinction? Just for teaching, rhyme and reason. Believing my time is like a diamond meaning. There's more to this world than meets the eye. We didn't see eye to eye, they decree we die. We believe we might, took the street to fight. If you know what you live for, you bleed for life. It was the strong against the meek. It wasn't pure against the clean. It was the vast against the few. And as we look back at time, ain't nothing new. It's like all gone and the world's candlelight, y'all.
Lights shining bright, burning through the night. A message to the generation, just like the stars, sparkling in the sky for you. A light unto the nation. Lights shining bright, burning through the night. A message to the generation, just like the stars, sparkling in the sky for you. A light unto the nation.
Now we're going to see something in this edition of Sojourners Along the Way that is also celebrated in December, and it's called Christmas. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on that, and this is coming from the Bible. I will be reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 2, and this is the NIV, New International Version. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, and they asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he, Herod, had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people of Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they, the Magi, had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and myrrh. Incense is also called frankincense. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." Now, there's a lot of information that is in this passage, but some of the key points. One, there was a star. So again, I want to encourage you, watch that presentation, The Star of Bethlehem, and you will learn a lot of science and history all rolled into one. That the Magi, who had been studying the stars, they were famous for knowing the stars and what the stars were saying. The Magi had noticed that there was a very special star had appeared, and they knew that that particular star was telling of the birth of a king, a new king. A baby was being born that would become a king. That's why it's important that they brought the gifts that they did: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold was for the king, frankincense, the priest, and myrrh, the death. And all of those, to learn more about, please read the Gospels in the Bible, and you'll find what it says about the Messiah, Jesus. But look at what the Magi did. When they saw that star, they didn't just stay where they were. They left and they went on a journey that some say was probably at least 700 miles. It took them a long time to get there, but they were on a quest because they wanted to know the truth. Today we have presented festivals of light from 3 different perspectives. The third one is about Christmas. And I'm using this board to help us to learn a little bit about Christmas. It's a special word. It has, the first 6 letters are very important to us because those first 6 letters stand for the person of Christ. So Christmas is about Christ. And it is very significant to know Christ is not Jesus' family name. Christ is a title. It actually means anointed one. Another way to call Christ is to say Emmanuel, Messiah, Yeshua. There are a number of ways that the name for Christ, a title for Christ. What about MAS at the end? MAS, that is a suffix, and it has a very special meaning. And we need to apply that to the word Christmas because the suffix Mass means celebration of. So when you say Christmas, you are actually saying celebration of Christ. And that is what Christmas is about. Now, I said you can also call it a celebration of lights. Have you ever noticed some of the symbols that we use at Christmas time? Lights are every place. We put lights on buildings, we put them on houses, around windows, and then a lot of people, not everybody that celebrates Christmas, and by the way, when you're saying the word Christmas, you are saying celebrate Christ. So every time you say Merry Christmas, you're saying celebrate Christ. But a lot of people will have a Christmas tree. Now there are some stories that when, as you heard from the scriptures that were read, Jesus was taken by his parents and they fled from Bethlehem and they went into Egypt. Jesus is known as a Nazarene because that's where his parents took him. A story is, and so there's no way for us to prove this, but it's a story, says that when they were fleeing, they had to hide, and they hid under a tree. Now, I seriously doubt, I don't know, because I don't know all the trees that are in that region of the world, but they hid under a tree, and that's why we have a Christmas tree. And have you noticed that people put lights on Christmas trees? And in the old days, before we had electricity, they used to put candles on the Christmas tree. And at the top, many people put an angel or a star. The star representing the Star of Bethlehem. The angel representing the one that came to Mary and told her that she was going to have a baby, which was a miracle of itself. In fact, the birth of any baby is a miracle, but this was a particular miracle because there was no human involved. Jesus is the Son of God. And the angel also came to Joseph to protect Jesus and the family. Because you see, once Herod realized that the Magi were not going back to him, you know how he reacted? He had every baby from the age of 2 and under slaughtered. He had them all killed because he did not want this king that had come as a baby. They knew, he asked, you heard from the scripture, he asked the people that knew the scriptures, that knew the Torah, that knew what the word said, that they were told when Jesus would be born and where. And so Herod had all the babies 2 years and under killed because he didn't want any competition. He wanted to be the king on the throne. There's a lot we can learn from history. In fact, there's a Jewish historian by the name of Josephus. And you have to read the earlier versions because that will tell you of the birth of Jesus, the star. He talked about the star's appearance. And he also, Josephus, also did talk about things, events in the life of Jesus. So there's a lot of documentation. Please enjoy this segment that talks about another festival of lights, Christmas.
I just got a quick comment. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem, that was just one small part of the country. And the reason they couldn't believe that the Messiah had come because they didn't see it happen. They knew what all the prophecies were. Nobody really knew that he was born in Bethlehem. They thought he was from Nazareth because that's where he grew up. And the prophecies all said Bethlehem. So the chief priests of that day, they didn't believe him because they said, well, he can't be the Messiah because these prophecies, we didn't see them fulfilled. They just didn't know. Well, we may look and say, well, the great revival hasn't happened. This hasn't happened. How do you know it hasn't happened? Just because I don't see it with my eyes here doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Do you know how many Muslims are coming to Christ? Millions at this point. They are having dreams and visions, and they are having visitations and are coming to Christ. ISIS is beheading Christians, but the revival is breaking out. You've got little kids standing in front of their executioner saying, I won't deny him. Is that not revival? I might not see it here, but that doesn't mean that the fulfillment isn't happening.
Hello, I'm Julie Jones, and I wanted to share an experience that I had recently with you, a reminder to me of how Jesus is the light of the world. And it started with me sitting in my living room with the lights turned off and just enjoying our Christmas tree. It was plugged in and the room's dark, and it was one of those experiences that really reminded me of how Jesus is the light of the world. And as I sat there in the darkness, the glow of the lights on that tree was just so warm and beautiful, and it reminded me of how Jesus is the light of the world, how his love is what comes into this world and brightens the darkness. It illuminates it, it washes it away, it helps us to live in love for each other. And so I sat there watching that Christmas tree and each individual light on that Christmas tree as a whole just glowing, and how on its own each one of those little lights, it's bright, but it's not that bright in a dark room. And as they all come together on that Christmas tree, glowing for one cause, one purpose, it was a reflection to me of how I can be a light for Jesus' love. How, because of what he's done for me, I too can shine that love into other people's lives. And as I do that, I get to be part of that glowing experience of sharing warmth and love to those who don't maybe get to experience that very often. And it was just a really neat experience. It was one of those times where you just felt like the cares of the day washed away and just warmed by the love that God has for me. And I'm so thankful that Jesus came to this world to share that love with me, that I get to share it with you. Thank you.